There are moments in technology when progress doesn't arrive with noise. It doesn't arrive with hype, flashing headlines, or overnight miracles. Instead, it arrives quietly. It slips into systems people already depend on. And before anyone realizes it, the old way of doing things no longer makes sense. Today's story is about one of those moments. We're not talking about a trend. We're not talking about price predictions. And we're definitely not talking about quick gains. Today, we're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about utility. We're talking about one name, one network, and one idea that is slowly reshaping how money moves in the real world. That name is Zebec Network. This video is purely educational and informational. Nothing here is financial advice. The goal is simple: to understand what is being built, why it matters, and where real demand actually comes from. So take a breath and let's begin. As Zebec continues to expand, something important happens in the background. The network grows, usage increases, real-world activity starts flowing through the system. And naturally, as that activity increases, so does the demand for the network's core utility token, ZBCN. But this demand isn't driven by speculation. It isn't created by hype cycles, and it isn't dependent on social media attention. It comes from usage, payroll processing, enterprise services, super app functionality, payment cards, reward systems. These are not theoretical ideas. These are operational tools that businesses and users interact with directly. So the real question becomes, where does ZBCN demand actually come from in practice? And what role does it play inside the Zebec ecosystem today? Originally, ZBCN began its life as a governance token. Its purpose was simple: participation in protocol decisions. But over time, that role expanded. Today, ZBCN sits at the center of the Zebec ecosystem, not as a symbol, but as a working component. It is no longer just about voting. It is about function. ZBCN has evolved into a full utility token, deeply integrated across Zebec's products and services. And the most important place to start understanding that utility is payroll. Payroll is not optional. It's not a feature. It's not something companies experiment with. Payroll is a requirement. Employees must be paid on time, every time, without excuses. Zebec focuses on this reality. Inside the Zebec system, employers pay payroll and related service fees using ZBCN. In earlier stages, stablecoins could be used directly, but the system has evolved. Now, even when employers hold stablecoins, those payments are automatically routed through ZBCN using an internal conversion model. Why does this matter? Because it creates consistent organic demand. As payroll volume increases, as more companies on board, as more salaries flow through the network, ZBCN is used again and again. Not because someone hopes it will rise in value, but because the system requires it to function. This is what real utility looks like. As Zebec attracts more enterprise clients, something powerful happens. Each new company doesn't just add users, it adds recurring activity. Payroll isn't a one-time event. It happens every pay cycle, month after month, year after year. That repetition matters. It means ZBCN demand isn't dependent on market mood. It is tied to operations. The more businesses rely on Zebec's payroll infrastructure, the more the token becomes embedded into daily financial flows. This is not excitement-driven demand. This is structural demand. The super app expansion. Payroll is only the beginning. Zebec is building toward a broader ecosystem. A super app designed to unify payments, financial tools, and user experiences under one system. Inside this upcoming super app, ZBCN plays an essential role. Access to certain features will require ZBCN. Participation in advanced functionality will depend on holding or using the token. This design isn't accidental. It creates alignment between users and the network. As the app grows more capable, the token becomes more relevant, not as a speculative asset, but as a key. Another major layer of utility comes from Zebec Cards. These cards bridge digital finance with everyday spending. They bring blockchain-powered payments into real-world use cases. And an important upgrade is coming. This year, Zebec Cards are expected to introduce a reward system, one that is directly linked to ZBCN token balances. This connection matters. It means users who engage with the ecosystem more deeply are recognized within the system itself. Rewards are not random. They are tied to participation. This creates a feedback loop. Use the ecosystem, engage with ZBCN, unlock benefits. Throughout this journey, leadership messaging has remained consistent. When Zebec's team talks about rewards, expansion, and long-term development, the focus is always on building, not chasing attention. Progress continues regardless of public opinion. Development doesn't pause during doubt. Roadmaps don't disappear during quiet periods. Zebec keeps moving. And for those who once ignored it, or lost conviction, or never paid attention at all, the opportunity to learn is still here. Let's talk structure. ZBCN's token distribution reveals something important about priorities. A significant 50% of the total supply is allocated to community rewards. That is not symbolic. That is intentional. Here's the broader breakdown. 50% community rewards, 9% seed round, 11% private round, 20% contributors, 6% public sale, 4% market making. Half of the supply is designed to flow back into the ecosystem through participation, usage, and engagement. When leadership talks about rewards, this is what they mean. We're not talking about a small incentive pool. We're talking about tens of billions of tokens dedicated to ecosystem growth. That scale matters. Not all growth starts with massive marketing budgets. Sometimes momentum begins with conversation. Community members talking, messages being shared, creators being introduced to ideas. We've already seen examples of this happening organically. A single post, a message to a trader, a response that leads to research. Suddenly, hundreds of thousands of people are exposed to a project, not through ads, but through curiosity. That's how real awareness grows. Retail participants are often underestimated, but attention matters, views matter, comments matter, conversations matter. What starts as a few thousand views can scale dramatically over time. Growth compounds. What seems small today can become significant tomorrow. Not because of luck, but because of consistency. Now zoom out. Look at where Zebec Network is appearing. Davos, World Economic Forum, 2026. This is not a casual setting. This is where global institutions meet, where policy, finance, and technology intersect, where long-term infrastructure conversations happen. Zebec's presence here signals something important. It is not trying to disrupt from the outside. It is building within the system. Zebec isn't making payroll slightly faster. It's changing how payroll works at a fundamental level. Instead of fixed intervals, pay becomes continuous. Instead of delays, settlements become instant. Instead of borders, payments become global. Salary streaming, real-time settlement, stablecoin native rails, enterprise-grade compliance. This isn't a feature set. It's an operating system for real-time finance. Traditional financial systems were not built for a 24/7 global economy. They were built for offices, for time zones, for manual processing. As companies expand globally and workers become digital, those systems begin to break. Zebec doesn't break because it was designed for this world. When payroll becomes continuous, when payments become programmable, when settlement becomes instant, finance stops being fragmented. It becomes fluid. This isn't about replacing banks. It's about building infrastructure that works alongside them, faster, smarter, and in real time. Finally, look at the environment. Global leaders, presidents, prime ministers, economic decision makers. When these names gather in one place, the conversation is not short-term. It's about the next decade, and Zebec is part of that conversation. So let's bring it all together. Zebec Network is not built on hype. ZBCN demand is not based on speculation. It comes from payroll usage, enterprise adoption, super app access, card rewards, community incentives, real-world financial flows. ZBCN is no longer just a governance token. It is infrastructure, and infrastructure doesn't shout. It works. This video is not telling you what to buy. It's not predicting outcomes. It's not offering advice. It's simply explaining what exists and why it matters. And sometimes that understanding is the most valuable thing of all. All content on this channel is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. Thanks for watching Coin News. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for daily updates on crypto markets, price analysis, and breaking news. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update from the world of digital currency.